What? I dashed through him.
Huh?
She's legitimately the best player alive. What the fuck? Somebody clip that shit.
What the fuck? Go back here. What the fuck? Oh my god.
Why do we miss this? What's up, babes? It's Biakai, 40 and balding.
Smite.
I don't ask this rhetorically, metaphorically, figuratively, erotically, or whatever. Genuinely, why do we miss Smite 1? About a month ago, I asked the question that this video is trying to answer, and it got 131 fucking comments. This is just an absurd amount of replies for a tweet about Smite. And the thing is, the vast majority of these comments, some of them being longer, some of them being shorter, but people were actually trying to explain why they missed Smite 1. Well, except for a few people that just wrote shit like, I don't. There were just so many different answers, and all of them had some kind of truth to them. Oh, Smite 1 had more game modes that I missed. Esports was a really common one. I miss Bake Kujira. Okay, I think this person is actually lying. Another tweet I thought was really interesting came from Inbound, who's known for doing the WAP dance on stream that one time, for some reason. Recently released a poll asking which game his next tournament should be on, Smite 1 or Smite 2. For the majority of the 24 hours that this poll was live, the results were mostly 50-50, like on the dot. It ended with 47% of voters wanting a Smite 1 tournament and 53% of voters wanting a Smite 2 tournament. Isn't that just really fucking interesting? Before getting into the cock and balls of this video, I would like to give a brief history lesson for Smite 1 and Smite 2's creation. It's a lot more complex than what I'm about to say, but this is the summary. Smite 1 was built using Unreal Engine 3, which was presented for the first time in 2004. Smite 1 was officially released in March of 2014, and you know what else was officially released in March of 2014? Unreal Engine 4. I'm sure that's not going to lead to any problems. Unreal Engine 5 releases in 2022, and oh my god, Smite has some catching up to do. Other popular MOBAs like League of Legends or Dota 2 have their own custom engine made specifically for their game, and I'm assuming Hi-Rez didn't do this because of lack of resources. I mean, they're Hi-Rez. Also, a side note, I still see people in 2025 thinking that comparing Hi-Rez to Valve and Riot Games is fair. Why are you the way that you are? Please change. So when comparing the engine timeline to Smite's timeline, it seems that Smite was kind of put on an artificial lifespan. As Unreal Engine 3 becomes more and more obsolete, this creates a lot of problems for Smite both in-game and out of game. Hi-Rez just had a lot of ideas they wanted to implement in Smite 1 but couldn't because the engine was so outdated. The easiest example of this would be Aladdin's ultimate ability. Aladdin, as he currently is in Smite 2, just isn't possible in Smite 1. And outside of the game, it's just harder to keep up with the competition when your competition is just using a better, more up-to-date engine. And real quick, who the fuck knows how to work with Unreal Engine 3 in 2025? So as it's becoming more outdated, there's just less people that are willing to work with Unreal Engine 3. So I don't think it's a stretch to say that hiring people was also really hard. So with all these problems that were directly caused by the outdated engine, it makes sense that they would want to make it more up to date. Hi-Rez was most likely aware of this, which is why Smite 2 was being developed in the first place. The Smite 1 ship was sinking, and the only life raft that Hi-Rez saw was developing a new game from the ground up, which was DKO. I mean Smite 2. And I do mean from the ground up as literally as possible. There isn't some magical button that can just port something from Unreal Engine 3 directly to Unreal Engine 5. And this lack of a magical port button is a key component for why people miss Smite 1 in so many different ways. And if you're wondering why my outfit changed, it's because I redid this entire portion of the script, and we're just gonna act like this is what I originally wrote. People miss their favorite gods, their favorite skins. If Clash was in Smite 2, I'd be playing that shit daily. Wait, this is your Penta? I'm setting it up. Rooting. I'm using my one. I'm tanking. No!
You
Wait,
are
what?
such a bitch.
Wait! And Smite 2 hasn't gotten to the point in its development cycle where every single person will be able to play their favorite god in a similar way that they did in Smite 1. And that can be due to the god just not existing yet, or Smite 2 being perceived as too different from Smite 1. Why is Sobek pushing me into a wall and fucking me in the ass? That's not what Sobek does, that's what Hercules does! So not only do you have to relearn a good portion of the game that you've already spent a considerable amount of time learning in Smite 1, such as, you know, items, you now have to learn new aspects of the game on top of that, pun entirely intended. Aspects are a way to fundamentally change the way a god is played without making it feel like you're playing a different god. Something as simple as making Sir Nunos' auto attacks a buffed melee auto rather than ranged, and reducing the cooldown of his dash completely changes how you would play Sir Nunos. However, aspects don't come without their fair share of criticism, an easy one being that aspects make the game much harder to balance, and Hi-Rez isn't really known for their genius balance decisions. The point I'm trying to make is that Smite 2 does have these exclusive features that are not in Smite 1, whether that's aspects, the day and night cycle, maybe entirely new gods like Hecate or Mordred. If something you dislike about Smite 2 is not present in Smite 1, then naturally you're just gonna miss Smite 1 a little bit more. And this concept of liking or disliking Smite 2 exclusive features is a very personal thing, and it'll change from person to person. For example, I like aspects. I think they're great, but I know a lot of people are gonna press the dislike button after hearing that. But do you want to know an opinion that I think the majority of the Smite 2 player base will share? It's that we miss
Esports!
Do I even need to fucking say anything? I mean, I'm going to, but you get the fucking point. Esports is kind of like the soul of any gaming community. People don't fly halfway across the world just to watch their favorite team compete in a video game for no fucking reason. People loved this shit, and people miss this shit. And it's very obvious as to why. Some of Smite's most memorable moments come directly from esports. Cuvo Fred beat the fuck out of his chair once.
That's a Mortal Kombat fatality.
Layers yelling, "You guys stink," was pretty funny.
Making it happen, and they win that game too, and they...
I loved seeing Venenu call Hurrywin to Tower Boy, and it's not because I dislike him, but god damn it, it was entertaining to watch unfold. And the craziest part about these three examples I just gave you is that they have nothing to do with the actual game of Smite. All three of these examples could have happened in any other esport because Smite esports goes beyond the actual battleground. The community and the culture surrounding esports is what makes it special. And it's kind of insane how something as small as Layers venting about the Solar Scarab's bathroom not being clean enough was enough of a reason to get some people to watch the SPL the following weekend. I mean, shit, I'd even argue that's more entertaining than the actual game sometimes. Oh my, what the fuck? Doug, Doug, get down from there. What the fuck? And then you get into the actual games, and sometimes you have moments like this.
And he's going right to the carry in the backside, but Venenu is going to fall. Variety somehow gets a kill out of all that to at least take down the bird.
They're still trying to bring down Variety, but it's going to take them a while because these guys are all out of mana. They're going to have to disengage, and Nisser's going to end up falling his...
As Zeros has lost his buff. The goal now, maybe go back in. That is unreal from Deathwalker. That is disgusting. For streak up, and it's right back to the Pyromancer, and again, it is a duo lane, but Sam has gone back in. The Thor, out of nowhere, suddenly has flipped the fight.
I just really miss sitting in Discord with the boys and streaming an SPL game and talking about what the pros should or should not have done in the game we're watching. You know, the people that are exponentially better at the game than I am. And I'm sure the competitive players miss, well, the competition. I've talked to a lot of former Smite competitors and read through so many comments, and a big reason that some people aren't playing Smite 2, and this includes longtime Smite 1 veterans, is because they feel like there's nothing to work towards. Sure, there's a ranked leaderboard with a #1 spot, but that isn't the same as being in a true competitive environment. An environment where all 10 players know exactly what they're doing, And in a ranked match, you're lucky to get like 3. Even if you aren't necessarily striving for like the big championship on the world stage, it's just nice knowing that there are milestones to work towards, even if they're significantly smaller in scale, like, you know, SOC or SEC. So it just kind of sucks on both ends, regardless of the kind of person you are, and it doesn't really help that a company participating in esports is just kind of throwing money away. Esports is not profitable. Full stop. It's mostly written off as a marketing expense because if there's one thing that esports is good at, it's generating headlines and making people want to try out their game. But oh my god, especially in today's climate, I feel like a lot of the executives are just like,
What? Money go down? No, that's bad. We need money go up.
let's reduce expenses by laying off our employees. Twice! I feel like it just takes a lot of support from the fan base to convince these executives that, hey, esports is worth it. Remember Worlds of Fans? You guys remember that shit? I've always held the belief that the biggest sign a game is dying is when a company starts gutting their esports program. And I'm honestly really scared that the inverse might be true, especially with a MOBA where if there aren't esports, then can a game really thrive? And right now, Smite 2 Esports is being held up by a bunch of extremely dedicated community members that are taking time out of their day to help run community tournaments. And I'd like to highlight a few of those. First off, we have Smite Prime, and I'm just going to read off a part of a conversation I had with Jithens about a month ago. Jithens is somebody that's been helping run community tournaments for an extremely long time now, and he even goes as far as to make his own trophies for these tournaments. I just like the Smite community. No matter how bleak the esports scene is, it's important to have one running with or without money. I've been running Smite tournaments since I was like 14 or 15. Around 2016, Smite Prime was the only community tournament, and that's when esports was dying. It's important to keep the skill level going because when it's their time to bat, it's not gonna be a shit show. And part of me is just stubborn. I'm not willing to let Smite esports just die when I can contribute. And remember, Smite Prime isn't just a one-man show. It has a very dedicated team of people that are trying to keep Smite 2 esports alive in some way, shape, or form. So huge shout out to Dilo, Malum, Tezdai, I'm probably gonna mispronounce these, Morty, Basically Billy, Rosie, Spirited Book, and Mussy. And that's just one league. There's also the Albion Giants League, or AGL. They typically have 5 to 10 divisions per year of 8 teams per season. And they've also worked with Hi-Rez to receive some kind of consistent prizing, social media promotion, and even recently got their own badge added to Smite 2. So once again, thank you so much to the staff behind AGL for making it successful and for keeping Smite 2 esports alive in some way. Even on a much smaller scale, there are creators hosting their own tournaments without the help of Hi-Rez. Big Tony is the first example that comes to mind, where he runs his own tournaments with his mods without the help of Hi-Rez. They still get enough people to sign up, they still provide prizing, which by the way is out of Big Tony's own pocket, and they still find success. That's only achievable due to his small community that he's built up over time because he's found a team of people that are just as passionate about it as he is. There are even people running Smite tournaments completely on their own. At the start of the video, I mentioned Bobby's tournament, and that is quite literally a one-man show. Look, I've never hosted a Smite tournament, nor have I helped with hosting a Smite tournament, but doing 99% of the work can't be easy, right? Fucking W inbound. I feel like I just made the Whataburger symbol. And the common thread between all of these community leagues or tournaments that I just discussed is that there's no real incentive to hosting them. They don't really receive a worthwhile salary. They don't get an insane amount of clout from it. They just do it for the love of the game because they don't want to see Smite 2 esports die. This is why I preach that the community is the best part of Smite. I mean, it's also the worst part, but that's not really relevant right now. And I don't want people to view this section of the video as like being inherently negative towards Hi-Rez because there isn't an SPL right now. I don't know what conversations they're having internally. I don't know what challenges they need to overcome before there's an official Smite 2 SPL, a Smite 2 Smite Pro League. But I do think it's important to commend them when they decide to help out, and even more importantly, actively support these community leagues and tournaments. And that support can range from something extremely small, such as liking a tweet, to, I don't know, actually participating in the tournaments. Again, esports doesn't usually profit, so in order to get official Smite 2 esports, we have to support our local communities as much as we can and just pray to God that Hi-Rez someday succeeds enough with Smite 2 to warrant them pulling the trigger on a new SPL. I don't know what the future of Smite 2 esports holds. I don't really think anybody does. And who knows, maybe I am being a little delusional for hoping SPL can return to like its former glory or whatever. But I think it's better to be delusional and supportive than it is to be pessimistic and absent. Now we can talk about the last and potentially biggest reason for some people as to why they miss Smite 1. That being nostalgia and expectations. This was the first video I have ever uploaded to this YouTube channel. There's something really special about the moment where Smite becomes just another game to this is a genuine part of my life now. And part of why it's so special is you can't have multiple of those moments. You only get one. But here's the thing. This video wasn't that moment for me.
I am lying to you.
It can take a lot of time for that to become something you genuinely love and form a series of memories that you'll never forget for the rest of your life. That moment for me was somewhere between my first video that did extremely well on Twitter and winning the Olympian election. Between these 2 points in time, I realized that there is something about this community that's very special to me, and it's not that I wanted to become a part of it, it's that I genuinely wanted to make a difference for the better. I didn't just like Smite and wish it well in the background, I wanted to actively contribute to the growth of the community. But that moment and the events that followed was my moment. My story. Every single person that has embarked on their Smite journey and ended up falling in love with the game has their own unique moment. Because that's what it is. It's unique to every single person. 2 people might have similar moments where they rhyme, but they aren't going to be identical. You might not even know what that moment is. You might be like me and just know that it happened at some point in this general time frame. But when you've been around the community as long as I have, you start recognizing when other community members have had their moment where Smite, again, just became a series of amazing memories that changed their life for the better. I've seen people make lifelong friendships through this game. Through Smite, I have seen people meet their current significant other and have babies with them. When will it be my turn? I can't speak for everybody, but I'm fairly certain that a significant portion of the Smite community missed Smite 1 not because of the gameplay or the features, but because of how they felt when they played it and the personal growth they experienced while playing Smite 1. I don't think many people could have predicted the impact that Smite would have on their life, and that's due to the fact that there were just no expectations when we started playing Smite 1. Your favorite content creator probably wasn't initially expecting this game to serve as like a medium to grow a community. Hi-Rez probably wasn't expecting to get collaborations with Avatar: The Last Airbender and RuneScape. Those are my top 2 favorite pieces of media of all time. How am I this lucky? And when you have such little expectations, it's very hard to be let down. So now we can talk about Smite 2. I'm not gonna sit here and say that every single person that started with Smite 1 just likes Smite 2. Some people just don't like Smite 2, and that's okay. But I also think there's a lot of people that do enjoy Smite 2, but still had their expectations let down and still yearn for the days of Smite 1. And the thing about this was Smite 2 was marketed as Smite 1 but better. And the confusing part is that I think that's true. Smite 2 looks better than Smite 1. There's more features and toys to play with. There's completely unique gods that could not exist in Smite 1 like we talked about earlier. The development cycle is every 2 weeks instead of every month for major updates. Maybe you'll disagree with what I just said. That's fine. Smite 2 isn't perfect and it's worthy of criticism. But when Smite 2 is like actually considered to be a fully finished product, I do believe that it'll blow Smite 1 out of the water in terms of how good of a game it is. Just please, Hi-Rez, please give us a custom assault map, or just remake the assault map from Smite 1. That's what I want most in life right now. So why is Smite 2 just not hitting the same as Smite 1, even if there's a very strong argument for it being a better game already? Well, I think the answer is pretty simple. Smite 2 isn't the game we fell in love with. It looks like Smite 1, it plays like Smite 1, but it is not Smite 1. And honestly, that's a really difficult thing to come to terms with when you've been playing this game for so long. Smite 2 is not the game I initially fell in love with. The friendships I made and the memories I'll cherish forever weren't made in this game. It was made in this one. And honestly, that's okay. I think it's unrealistic to assume that anything that you enjoy is going to last forever. It's much easier to say this now that Smite 2 is out, but even before Smite 2 was publicly available, I thought it was kind of unrealistic to assume that Smite 1's lifespan was going to last much longer than it has. I think Smite 1 lasted a lot longer than what people initially thought. I mean, there are people that are commenting dead game every single year for the past 10 years straight. I'm just thankful that I was there for the ride. And I'm thankful that the developers gave us this fucking thing that we love. Smite 1 touched so many people, and for many of those people, Smite 2 won't touch them the same way. Wow, that sounded better in my head. And I'm sure that Smite 2 will affect some of those veterans in the same way that Smite 1 did, but it's also important to remember that Smite 2 could be the start of somebody else's story. Recently, I've been a little dishonest with myself, and I realized that I spent a long time playing Smite 2 just waiting or expecting to have the same experience and feelings than I did in Smite 1. And I just don't think that it will. And that's okay. Because while my story started a long time ago, that doesn't mean Smite 2 won't be the start of somebody else's story. I want people to have those special moments and make their own story, make their own memories and lifelong friendships. Because I know what that feels like, and I want other people to know that feeling as well. And in order to have other people experience those feelings, there has to be an opportunity for the story to be told in the first place. That's why I think it's important to uplift and encourage those that maybe haven't wanted to give Smite 2 the chance yet. So if you've been on the fence about giving Smite 2 another chance, please do. The worst case scenario is that you lose an hour or two of your time, and the best case scenario is you fall in love with the game either for the first time or all over again. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Black Eye, and I will see you in the next video. And welcome to the outro, where I want to talk about something real quick that doesn't actually pertain to the video, but I still think it's worth noting. I've been gone for a couple months, and normally it's because I just didn't have motivation, and this time it was because my cat passed away, and I was very depressed for a couple months. That's pretty much it. If you're wondering why the cat in this video looked different than the cat in the last video, it's because, you know, the cat in the last video passed, so I got a new one a couple months later. That's the simple version, but I do plan on going live the day after this is uploaded to talk more about where I've been and what I plan to do. So if you're interested in that at all, feel free to follow my Twitch channel. It's in the description of this video. But yeah, thanks again for watching, and I will talk to you guys later.